Hi, I'm Shannon with Wildflower Cottage. I have been meaning to make a video and a pattern for this little angel forever, and I decided the best way to just get it out there was to hop on and do a quick video. So right now I'm just going to give you my version of just a little woven angel. There's the back of her. She's a little bit folksy, a little bit country, but one of my really more popular Christmas sellers. So we're going to do this in a fun purple pattern today, and I hope you have fun. This is the angel that we are working on today. I've seen a bunch of similar little angels floating around, but this is just my way of doing it. And I don't usually use a pattern. I just sort of get started. I have these little heads that just come with a hole in the middle. I buy them in the craft store in a package of about a dozen. So anyway, a little head that I believe is 1.25 inches. And then I have 8 spokes. Either number 3 or number 4 round reed, whatever you happen to have on hand. You need a little piece of number 6 or 7. Those are going to be your arms. A little piece of 1/4 inch flat. And then whichever colors you'd like to have on hand to weave your actual dress on your angel. And that's the whole thing. Here in front of me, I do have some Loctite super glue. Really fond of the gel control. My Dremel right there. And then also I'm going to use, this is a bodkin or an awl. Those just help get the arms in. And my screwdriver. That's my favorite tool to use for putting the wings on the back. And then of course, my trusty shears, scissors, whatever you happen to have on hand. So first things first, we need to drill out this, this little wooden ball. And I like to just give myself little sketches just to try and keep myself lined up. You can measure it if you want to. I'm not really a fan. And there are a couple ways to do this. If you have a drill press, great. I don't have one in this particular studio. I have one in my wood shop, but not in here. So I'm just going to lay out where I want all of my 8 holes to go. And you can either drill straight down into this, or if you have the ability, go at a little bit of an angle, say like a 30-degree angle. That will just help your angel spread out a little faster up here at the neck. That's really a tight area to get into when I've got the full 8 spokes in. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. Make sure you got a good grip on that, guy. I like to do every other hole. Just again, kind of keep your spacing a little more honest there. And I got my first 4 in. Now, if you don't use a hand drill regularly, and a lot of people don't, that's okay. You might want to use your awl or a nail and just start some of those holes so that your drill doesn't slip around on you. And you'll see they're not perfect, they're off a little bit, but it's going to do what I need it to do. And in this case, just going to clean some of this out of my way. I'm just going to give all of my spokes here, I've cut them all out at approximately 10 inches. Again, that's variable, really. Give those a little soak. All right. We'll get them a little more wet in a minute, but for now, I just want to get my spokes set. Just a little drop of this gel glue will do you every time. Gives you a little bit more flexibility and a little more control than a liquid glue. So we're just going to go ahead and get all those dropped in. And typically when I do this, I do, oh, I don't know, half dozen at a time, because angels are great little gifts. And even if I don't have them all made up, if I have this part done, I don't need to go get out the drill and the tools. I can just pick basically a little octopus and take it with me, and I can make an angel just about any time I need to without much fuss. So that's how that's going to start, just a little octopus shape. I'm going to get that just a little more wet. Okay, here we have our angel. I have glued all the spokes in. I was using number 3 round reed, and I have moistened the spokes so they're pretty flexible already. It doesn't have to be super wet at this point, but for now they're just sort of holding our place. And then usually if I have it on hand, I start with a number 1 round reed, just because we are working in some tight spots here. And you have a couple choices here. Usually I just do twine around a couple of rows with the number 1, making sure you get it really tight up inside there. I know there's tools for this, but I'm notorious for using my fingernails, so whatever works. You can use your screwdriver if you want to. Kind of push stuff down in there like that. But 2 rows around. And by then you should be gaining some space. And you can add your 3rd weaver. And I like to switch to a 3-rod wale or a triple twine, depending on where you're at. Same process. This one I'm just doing a continuous twine over 1 under 1. When we add the next one, we're going to be doing over 2 under 1 with the 3 weavers. So we'll show you that in just 1 second. I'm still using the smaller number 1 reed now, but it's already getting easier. So there's 2 rounds all the way around there. Then I'm adding my 3rd one, and this one, again, these angels are great because they're easy to do transitions. I'm just going to hold it behind the weaving here and secure it down as I start to go. So always starting on the left, over 2, behind 1. Start with the weaver on the left, over 2, behind 1. Okay, we're going to go all the way around with that. A couple rows. And because I like these angels to be pretty flexible, I like to use up little bits and pieces of materials and things that I have. I'm usually not too fussy. You know, maybe I'll go around once or twice with the number 1 and the triple twine. And then I'm going to start adding in either a number 2 or a number 3 round reed. I like to be, like I said, I like to be flexible. Number 2 will keep everything a little bit skinnier, because otherwise it's not strong enough to support your spokes when you get further out. But I use whichever I have on hand that's dyed. This is a great project for using scrap pieces as well. So there we go. I am twice around in the triple twine. I'm just going to take my shortest weaver here, snip that one off because I want to be increasing my size. I have a piece of number 2 here that I've soaked already. This particular pattern I like to do, usually I start with natural and then start adding color, just kind of my routine. But you can add color right here if you want to, and do the whole body in color, or you can do, I frequently start with 1 row of color, 2 rows of, or 2 weavers of natural, and then as I run out of the natural color, then I add a dyed reed and just kind of work it around. So I'm usually not real fussy about where I stop and start a row. Trying to make sure to keep that round on the bottom there. And see, this one is about done, so I'm going to jump ahead, weave that one out, and pick up my first colored reed. This one is sticking out a little bit right there, so I'm just going to cut him off so he ends behind the spoke. Hold that in place for just a minute. And I'm using up some variegated kind of purple and green with a rose. This guy will actually last me, this will last me through most of the angel actually. So again, I'm just going to tuck that in behind here. Hopefully you can get some light in there and see that. And continue just weaving it. Hold it in place until you've got a couple of weaves in there, over 2, under 1. So in front of 2 on this side, and then behind 1. And then you start with the one on the left, in front of 2, behind 1. That's all I'm doing this whole weave for the angel. Oops, see, a little tangled there. There we go. Okay, now I still have some number 1 round reed, but it's a little thin to keep going in here, so I'm going to soak a little bit more natural in number 2. If that's more than enough. Since I know I'm not going to want all that at once because it tangles, and these angels are so easy to switch in and out, I'm just going to cut that in half. I don't need that kind of length. Give that a soak. All right. So we're starting to get a bit of a spiral pattern in here because I am just using 1 colored weaver right now, 2 naturals. Trying to make sure to keep those rows as close as possible. We are going to be sneaking in a little piece for our arms. All right, I've had about enough of this little guy, so I'm going to actually go back in here, cut him out. Okay. And switching just all I'm doing right now is switching my little piece of number 1 round reed with a number 2 round reed, just because I'm getting wider between my spokes and I want to take up some more of that space, keep it sturdy. And I'm going to keep weaving that around for a little while. I'm at the point now where I need to decide, when I use up one of these natural weavers, which one do I want to go to next? Do I want to go to another color? Or do I want to keep weaving with the natural? See, I'm getting a bit of a swirl in there. I think what I might do at this point is add a deeper purple. That's kind of fun. And it'll pick up a little bit of the lavender in the variegated reed that I'm using already. So, oops. Gotta get that all untangled. Every once in a while you do have to do this with round reed if they're longer. Just stop, pull them out so they flow freely. Okay. Now, I think I'm liking, give that a little pinch there to make sure it's round. See how she's going so far? Okay. Now, I think if I go one more round of this with these natural weavers as I have them, one of them is going to be pretty well used up. So, okay. See, if you keep pushing your row closer to yourself, I use my body for a lot for weaving. It just helps keep tension. You can also use the tabletop and weave down if you wanted to. I'm going to throw some purple. Just get that soaking for a minute. And honestly, because I'm using number 2 round reed, a lot of times you can get away with just dunking it and letting it set for just a minute. And it will be flexible enough for you to use when it's its turn. Of course, I'm working in a studio with a wood stove going right now, so that tends to dry things out a little bit faster too. But it should be fine. If your weavers or your spokes tend to get a little too stiff here, You can squirt them with a spray bottle or just sort of lightly dunk them in your water. I've been known to just dunk the whole angel in if I need to. Okay, now you see this guy is sticking out, but he's not quite going to go over the 2, and behind 1, it's just not going to hold its place. So I'm going to step back, trim that one off, right up close to the spoke. So you can't actually see it. It's kind of just hanging out behind its last support there. Okay. So right now, you can see I have 2 weavers going, but I had to cut that 3rd one off because it was sticking out and it wasn't going to go any further. So what I'm going to do is lift these 2 up gently, find where the butt end is of that one, and I'm just going to take my new weaver, tuck it in behind there, hold them down with my fingers as I tighten these guys back down. You can see just the tiniest little bit of a tail in there. You can trim that shorter if you wanted to. And continue weaving. Okay. Now, because I like to do transitions right after my color. See, I've got my variegated coming through here. I actually kind of like the next one to go after that, so I'm going to weave one with the natural. Trying to decide if I want to start there. I think I'm going to wait till I get back to lavender. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to finish this row off. Just go around one more time. Getting back to my other colors here. Okay. All right, now, variegated color going in. Now I'd like the next one over top of it to be a color too. I'm going to start widening out my swirl. So I'm actually going to take the weaver that comes after the colorful one, snip that one off. I can use that guy in a few minutes. And I'm going to switch to this deep purple. Doing the same thing I did before, I'm going to go back and find that butt end and tuck this in behind it. Okay. A little extra can get out of my way there. Okay. And I'm just going to continue to weave that one around too. Now these I could make up as kits if you're interested. I do have a bunch of colors. They're not on my, well, the finished ones are on my website right now, but not the different kits, just because you can contact me and find out what colors I have available at any one time and that sort of thing. Oops, here we go. Okay. So now I'm weaving my purple in here too. My battery's a little mad at me, so I'm going to try and weave this side up quick. And we'll get that charged up so I can show you how to finish it. Okay, you can see my weavers are getting all tangled there again. Just take a minute, pull them all out so they're behind you. These are my new guys, okay? So you can see we're building up some height on this little guy. And I think I've got enough natural in here. So my next step is actually going to be to add some more color back in. And I like to sort of just weave the natural out. So use up this guy. And then I'm going to switch to all color. Here I could go either all purple or the variegated. Either one, it's just a personal preference at this point. Okay, and one thing to remember when you're doing this, you have to keep an eye on those spokes. Where are those spokes going? Because the direction of the spokes determines the direction of your baskets. If your spokes are coming in this way, if they're narrowing down, then you're actually making your angel skinnier. This one I still want to flare out just a little bit more. She's not quite as round as we like them to be. There, these were getting just a little stiffer than I wanted to, so I just quickly dunked the weavers themselves into my bowl of water here. Okay. Now, I think I would really like to switch this natural into another strand of variegated. I'm going to use this guy up and switch to a variegated weaver. There we go. You can see where that guy's sticking out. I'm going to have to cut him off so he goes just past that spoke right there. And the spoke is going to still hold him into place. And just going to pop that colorful piece in. And again, continue weaving in the same triple twine 3-rod wale over under pattern. So in front of 2, your weaver on the left picks up and goes in front of 2 and behind the 3rd one. Always starting on the left hand side, in front of 2, behind the 3rd one. There we go. Now when you're using variegated, you can decide if you want to try and follow the pattern when you add new pieces. This is a smaller piece, so you're not going to see as much variation as you go along. It probably won't be real noticeable. I'm going to just throw in a little piece here just because I have a short one I'd like to use up. And so I'm not going to fuss about that color variation too much here. If I were doing a bigger bowl, I would want to match my ends. If I ended with a lavender section, I would want to start with a lavender section, that sort of thing. But this angel is small enough you're not going to see much difference. Okay. And I like to make my angels different sizes, different shapes, different heights, just because, well, that's kind of how I like them. Every year I make a small choir around Christmas time. I also do a bunch for Easter, things like that. But they're a great little gift for people, so it's a real popular piece. Now we're getting to some height in our angel here, and I'm just going to look at this green one I did the other day. Again, doesn't have to be the same size, but she's much taller than you think she is. You still needs that braid on the bottom. So I'm actually running out of this one here, so I'm actually just going to cut the next 2 off. So we're going to end up ending in 3 consecutive rows. So we're going to end up, this one's going to get cut behind this spoke. This one, the next weaver behind this one, and this one. So 1, 2, 3, you're going to have ends behind each of those spokes. So 1, continue that weave properly. So over 2, behind 1, cut, over 2, behind 1, cut. And now, because I'm going to do a real simple braid on the bottom of this, you can see a copy of that right here. I'm going to give it a little soak to make sure these are nice and pliable, and then I'll braid off the bottom. Okay, I got a cord for my phone and soaked the weaver, or I'm sorry, the spokes on my angel. I'm all done with the color for now, so I set all that aside. Now the only thing I need to do is focus on my bottom braid, and I like to keep that real simple. If you can see that here, all I did for this pattern is, first of all, start on the opposite side from where you cut all your other ends of your weavers. Just gonna kind of help keep that less messy when you get going around here. But pick anything opposite where you cut, doesn't matter exactly which one. And you're gonna take your weaver, or take your spoke, fold it pretty well flat in front of the spoke to the right, the first one behind the second spoke to the right, and then you're gonna trim it off. Now these do weave a little bit, so I always leave a little bit extra gap there when I trim. But all we're gonna do is do this all the way around. In front of one, behind one, and trim. In front of one, behind one, and trim. Okay. In front of one, behind one, same thing. All the way around until we get back to that last one. And that one you're gonna have to just tuck it in, but super easy to do. Okay, this one starts to look concerning, but you're still fine. You're still going to go in front of the spoke to the right. The second spoke to the right is folded over, but you can still go just past that. Trim this one off, and it's just going to sit there. Okay, now I have just one spoke upright. So I'm going to take that guy and gently feed it into the hole from where we started there. Pull it all the way through so everybody's laying nice and flat. Make sure it's behind the next spoke to the right. Give that a trim because that's going to keep it from slipping through. Now you can see all those are sitting just inside there. You can squeeze them in a little bit if you want it smaller, make it a little bit tighter. Make sure she sits flat. Okay. Then the next two things we're going to need to finish this little angel off are a piece of number 6 or number 7 round reed. Again, you could go bigger. It doesn't really matter. I actually keep I do a lot of rib baskets, and I keep a lot of my cut off some rib baskets just for something like this. So look, this arm is a little bit taller than the angel is itself. That's how I'm going to start with it anyway. And then I'm going to take my awl or my bodkin, whichever is handy, and figure out which side I want to be the front of my angel. Okay. Sometimes maybe the shape's not, I actually think I really like this side of her. I like the way the color comes through. The shape's good. And I'm going to go down usually 3 or 4. It depends on personal interest really. But 1, 2, 3, 4 spokes. You have 8 spokes total. So I'm going to go in between. I'm actually going to go all the way through here, making sure that I am underneath 4 rows on either side. 4 spokes, 1, 2, 3, 4, front and back. So you're going right down the center of your angel there, and you're just going to leave a little space. You can go both directions if it helps, making sure your awl goes all the way through. Then we're going to take your pointed end of your arms, your number 6, and just gently work that through there. Decide how long you want them to be. See, now that's a little bit longer than I want, and that cut end sometimes gets a little beat up. So I think this one should have her arms upraised. Gonna just trim it around that way. Okay. All right, so now our angel has arms. The next step is going to be to do some wings. And this is just, again, 24 inches, give or take 30 inches of 1/4 inch flat reed. I'm going to take one end and angle it. Again, remember which side we decided was the back of the angel. Which one's the front? This one is definitely my back. I just don't like the colors as much. And I'm going to go about, not quite halfway down on the back here. And I'm going to stick my, that's probably 1/3 of the way down. I'm going to stick my screwdriver underneath 2 rows. Make sure your angel is still a little damp. If she's too tight, you'll break your spoke, so make sure that that's okay. And then we're actually going to take this, stick it underneath those 2 spokes. Or, I'm sorry, those are not spokes. Those are weavers. And I'm going to angle the other end of my 1/4 inch and slide it. So you're going to want to keep that loop shape at the top. So you're actually looking at the inside of both of those. Keep a loop shape, run one over top of the other here. Work that through. I got a little bit of a split in that weaver underneath, but that's okay because my wings are on top of it. They're going to hold everything in place anyway. And now you just take the loop for your wings, tuck it underneath your tails here. Okay. And as it dries, it's going to all keep into place. Make sure your wings are fairly even. And you can slide that around a little bit. This side is clearly too big. And you can actually change the shape and direction of your wings based on the X that's in the back of that angel. So if you squeeze them together, her wings are going to go right up her back and kind of sit behind her head. If you make more of a wider X out of that, then her wings are going to be out to her sides. So you can play with that a little bit. It's just personal preference. I guarantee I make all of mine different. So whatever seems right at the time, go with it. Okay, I'm just going to try and balance those out a little bit. I do have this 1/4 inch a little bit damp, just to give me a little more flexibility. I'm going to cut these off here just so they're not as fragile. But you can leave them any length you want to. And after she dries a little, she won't have that spot on her head. You can trim off any extra little fuzzies or a little extra bits of reed here and there. I don't see any of my ends sticking out. And you don't really have to trim the inside. You can see some of that left over in there, but it's the inside of the angel, so it doesn't really show off. And there you have it. Wove your first little angel. Thanks much. Bye-bye.